Good afternoon, everybody. This is Tony Dattino, the founder of the USA Memory Championship, doing my Live with Tony, beginning to talk about our 26th USA Championship. And it's hard to believe when I step back and think about it. It was 26, God, it was November of 1997. Well, let me get my years right here. 1997. When we did our first event at the Park Central Hotel in New York City. And when I think about that and the guidance of Vonda North and Tony Buzan, that first helped us to at least think about having a U.S. championship. And then having a press agent that promoted the event. We actually had 17 people show up at the Park Central Hotel in New York City. And we had 17 people compete, a number of students from Puerto Rico, and students from Purdue University. And lo and behold, an assistant to an executive walked in right as we were getting to start the competition and asked if it were too late for her to come in and compete in the event. And it turns out that was Tatiana Cooley, our first-time winner. We then won 3 consecutive years, and it was always interesting in listening to her, thinking that she always had a good memory and never realized until we had a chance to sit down and have breakfast one day as she was preparing for an interview with a magazine, to learn that when they used to drive in their automobiles, their father used to play memory games with them, to where she then began to realize she learned some of the skills that she developed over her childhood years that became part of who she was, which to me was what the event was all about, which was demonstrating to people that there in fact are skills that you can improve on and learn. Actually, you can first learn them and practice them and improve your memory. And so when you stepped back and looked at the event, one of the ones that were most popular are names and faces. We had pictures of people. We gave them pictures of people, and they had to remember as many of their names as possible. We gave 99 the first year, so you say 99 people. We gave them 15 minutes. Said, okay, in 15 minutes, you can remember as many names as you can. And we've eventually taken that up to 125 as the mental athletes got better and better. But it's amazing that people want to know, well, how do you remember names and faces? And so one of the things you obviously have to do is, the word is focus, right? And how many times have we heard the word focus and all this? You have to focus. You know, when you go park your car in a parking lot and you don't focus on where you're parking it, you may have a little bit of time to find it when you come back to look for it on your return from your shopping. So focus on names and faces. When you're meeting someone, do you focus on their name? Do you focus on their face? Do you then put their name and their face together in a combination that helps you to retain the person's name when you meet them the next time, or you meet them walking by in the street? Now, do you need to do that with every person you meet? Absolutely not. You certainly want to do it with the business associates. You certainly want to do it with people that you're meeting in your day-to-day, week-to-week work activities, especially new people in the company and organizations or community groups. But we did names and faces, so that was one of our events in our Memory Championship. So as we go forward, that's one of our popular events that we have, and then we eventually took that from the Memory Championship and in the early years, and we converted it to what we call the Tea Party, and 3 strikes, you're out of the party. And so when you look at the Tea Party event, it's another event in terms of the Memory Championship that we want people to remember information about people they're meeting. So maybe it's a phone number, maybe it's an address, maybe it's hobbies, and maybe favorite foods or a pet. And so in the Memory Championship that we prepare each year, we try to think of what are the events that have been most popular, and can we make some tweaks? Can we make some variations to it? And so in our qualifying events, we're always doing an event for names and faces. We do numbers, so we're always looking at strings of numbers that people are most times writing down or putting into their iPhones, and certainly telephone numbers and addresses in their iPhones is now MapQuest, the driving directions. But we're looking at an event that gives people the ability to show that they can remember strings of numbers. Then we always have this closing with the deck of cards. You know, how well do you remember the order of a shuffled deck of cards? And in our competition, we have 2 decks of cards. And so when we're putting our planning together for who are the folks that are likely to want to come back and compete in the USA Memory Championship, we've got a network of people that just want to see how they're doing from year to year. But we also have had the pleasure of working with the Memory League, as well as folks from Lumosity or Lumos Labs, and taking the people that have practiced on their games and seeing how well that they can do. So we go out to our partners and we start looking at dates. We have Full Sail University here in Winter Park, Florida, and so we start by going out to each of our partners, and we start looking for dates. And we start saying, okay, when we back up. So we go to Full Sail, and we back up from Full Sail, and then we come back into Memory League, and then we go to Lumosity, and we say, okay, let's start with when the university is available to bring people into their studio and give their students the opportunities to create a live YouTube video in their studio. So it gives their students at Full Sail University, their media programs, to practice the skills that they're going to use when they graduate from the university and go out into the real world and work in studios. And so we start with them, and then we back up from that to Memory League, and we're keeping our folks at Memory League up. Our origin of that comes out of Australia, so we've got somebody staying up until the wee hours of the morning and not getting a good night's sleep to be able to exercise and utilize their games, because we went from being live on our pre-competition to bring our qualifying finals to virtual, so that people stay in the safety of COVID and different traveling plans and make it more economical, and we get people to compete on a virtual event. And so from there, we set those dates, and then we get everybody on board to make sure that Memory League and Lumosity and Full Sail University are on board, get our dates together, and then we start then putting out an announcement, which we try to get out in the February-March time period. And off we go with our 26th USA Memory Championship, which, when I step back and think about the people that have helped to make this happen and the volunteers that we've had over the years, it's just been a blessing. It's just been wonderful to see the number of people that have wanted to make a difference in helping as volunteers, as helping in bringing this championship together, and of course the mental athletes that are actually the ones that compete and put their brains on display and are willing to demonstrate their skills of remembering names of people, lists of words, strings of numbers. In some cases we used to do poetry and remember lines of poetry that can demonstrate that they clearly are evidence that anyone can improve their memory at any point. So we're in the first stages of getting out people their calendars for 2025. And when you think back, in 2024 we had our 25th event. Maybe we should have held it a year. I don't know. Held it off a year for 2025. But in any case, it's 25 years, is now going into its 26th year. And we're looking forward to the people that have the courage and the brave and the willingness to put their brains on display to see how well they can improve their memory, and then demonstrate to people that watch it on YouTube or get to see some clips of it on podcasts and things, that they too can improve their memory. And that's what this is all about. So with that, it's time for a weekend. I know we have a couple of NFL playoff games still in the works for Sunday. Hopefully the weather is starting to warm up a little bit. I just looked at our temperature here for Windermere, Orlando, Florida, and we're going to start seeing some 70s again next week, which would be our norm, which we haven't seen for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully everybody has been safe, not shoveling a lot of snow, not slipping on any ice, and looking forward to 2025 being another great year for the USA Memory Championship.